different sessions here, ranging anywhere from husbandry sessions, which is basically animal healthcare sessions, allowing animals to participate in their own healthcare with us. We have exercise sessions where we help them get a lot of their energy out and what normal exercise might look like out in the open ocean. We have learn sessions, which is where we train and stimulate their minds and brains and allow them to kind of have some type of stimulation and enrichment where they can use what they naturally would and work with us to train different behaviors. We have play sessions where we just get a chance to kind of hang out with them and let them interact with each other, interact with objects like toys and different enrichment. A little bit more free-flowing for those sections. Relationship sessions, which are really great because that allows us the opportunity to build relationships with our animals. And then of course, one that you might have just seen right now, a show we do consider a session and allows us the opportunity to not only have an audience participate in the enrichment of our animals, but it allows them to do lots of different things, especially interacting with other animals on stage. So, one of the sessions we're going to be doing right now is a learn session. Now this is Binks. He's a 7-year-old male California sea lion. He weighs 400 pounds. He is learning a behavior that you just saw in the show. It's actually a backflip behavior. So, one of the first things that we do when we're interacting with our sea lions, trying to train more complex behaviors, is we introduce the idea of a target. So at the top of that long pole, there's a little bead. You'll notice there's another one right over here. We have lots of different variations and sizes. And we can use those as tools to train more complex behaviors. A lot of people ask us how long it takes to train behaviors, and it really just depends on the type of behavior that we're training. I like to describe different behaviors like math behaviors, where it's like you start with addition, subtraction, you can go to multiplication or division, and then you go up to calculus. So the more complex you get, the more steps you have to take to get to that, the more time it usually takes to train a behavior. So this behavior is a very complex behavior. One of the first things she's doing is asking him to touch the target with the tip of his nose. Again, this is one of the approximations or small steps that we're taking in order to allow our animals to build into those bigger behaviors. There's lots of tiny approximations and small steps that can take anywhere from a couple weeks all the way up to multiple years to be able to train something as complex as this behavior. So she's using that target pole. Now, originally when we train targets, we start with smaller targets, little ones that are probably about 2 feet long. We'll also use our hands as well. And those are really great ways to not only build relationships, but to allow us to shape bigger and smaller behaviors. So we also have etiquette with our animals, and etiquette is basically kind of like keeping a respectful distance between us, a respectful distance for the tools that we're using. So we're asking them to stay calm and confident on those objects. So what she's looking for is him just to be able to sit underneath that and to be able to come up underneath it, not worried about interacting with it or touching with it too much. We do desense them to targets as well. And then she builds that shape. So she's using that target to lead him around in a backwards motion and go under the water. But one of the important things about training this behavior is the animal has to have enough power to come up out of the water. So that's why she started with that high target touch, because it allows him the opportunity to come straight up out of the water. He's going to use those muscles that he needs in order to eventually be able to come up and flip in the air. Very nice. You can see that's a hand target right there. She's looking a little bit at shape. She's utilizing all of her space. We are very multidimensional here, so we don't just train in one space and one dimension. And this allows our animals to really learn concepts. Right there, she's looking at the shape that she's going to eventually want when he comes out of the water, him being able to fully tuck his head all the way back and make that rotation a little bit more strong and manageable when he knows the motion already within his body. Now, there's a lot of things we look for when we're working through sessions. Obviously, we're looking for attention, we're looking for attitude. We want to make sure that this remains enriching for our animals. So the biggest thing about animal training is actually working with the animals, and one of our more important parts of our job is reading animal behavior, reading animal motivation, and that comes with just spending a lot of time with them, looking at their body language, because obviously sea lions can't speak to us. We joke about it in the show. We can't actually understand what they're saying when they're talking. So although they are very vocal animals, they don't necessarily always have that option, so they communicate by using their bodies. So it's really important that we're constantly paying attention to that, looking at their body posture and looking at the way that they're interacting with us during sessions, and that allows us to have good opportunities to continue to keep things positive and enriching and stimulating for them. Now you'll see she's just playing with him right now. So again, a lot of the things that we do here is building relationships with our animals. It's how we form those strong bonds that allow us to better care for them throughout their entire lives. I think we're going to probably be finishing up here with Binks, and then we're going to be moving on to our next animal. He's going to say goodbye. Very nice. All right, so the next thing we're going to be doing is working with some of our otters. So we are home to Asian small clawed otters here at Sea Lion and Otter Amphitheater. We have 8 here. We also have one vacationing over at Dolphin Amphitheater. So if you see an otter over there, he is original home here at Sea Lion and Otter Amphitheater. We have 4 bonded pairs. The 2 that you're going to be seeing right now are pretty young. They're both under 5 years old. But they are fully grown within the first year of their life. So they're not going to get much bigger than they are. However, they are still learning lots of different concepts. That's kind of when, in the beginning stages of their life, just like, you know, us children, adults, we learn generally when we start growing from the ground up. So they're still learning a lot of things. They are participating in our shows and presentations. This is Ash. He is the male of the male-female pair. He's working with Katie. And then we have Cooper, who is with Nathan on my right-hand side. Now, they're working 2 different things. So, Katie is working the behavior that you saw in the show. Actually, you didn't see this behavior in the show because the otter didn't do it. But the behavior is that they carry the Coke can out of the machine after the sea lion goes by. So, we have to train them to be able to hold it and move at the same time. So the first thing generally that we do, obviously, that target is very similar to the long target that we have. You'll see they have small stick targets in their hands. We're not going to use a big, giant target for a 6-pound otter. That would be weird. So we use these little targets that allow us to do similar things and train small approximations. So they use those targets originally to train them to stand up, to train them to pay attention, and then we introduce the prop. So the prop, generally, we kind of let them figure out somehow, you know, what the best way it is for them to carry it. Right now, he has learned how to pick up the prop. He's learned how to walk a few steps with it. Obviously, end goal is for him to be able to walk from the machine to this curtain. Now, there is a lot of failure in learning, so that's totally okay. And this is where it really comes into context where we're working with our animals. So we have to read them sometimes. They're really good working through failure. Sometimes we have to take a break and move on to something different, which is also okay. But as you can imagine, just like us, we don't succeed at everything the first time. So for our animals, it's really important that we're constantly encouraging them. So Katie's using an opportunity right now, so she just was able to give him the prop, and instead of asking him to move with the prop, she just reinforced it for him picking it up. So sometimes we have to take those really small steps, keep their motivation, and make sure that they know that there is opportunity for success in ways that they've already made that success happen. So now it looks like we're doing that same behavior. This is Hooper. So as you can see, she's farther along. There we go. She made it, and that's what matters. So that's kind of what the end goal of what we want that to look like. Now, you're probably like, oh, how do they learn different things, or why are they learning at different paces? So all animals learn differently. Some pick up things faster, some excel at different things than others. Obviously, it's the way that we train and the way that we work through some of this stuff is I'm just going to let that happen. It's better than anything that I could say. Good job, Hooper. You can applaud her for that. She can hear you. Otters can hear it. So yeah, at the end of the day, very nice. We work to our animal strengths, and we find our best ways to be able to interact with them and train them. That is most. We're going to be bringing out another sea lion. Great, so we're going to be working a really interesting concept. It's called Find It, which is a more mental concept than physical. We show a prop to a sea lion, and then we ask them to go find its equivalent out in the environment. So this is really great because it allows the animals to form different types of behavior, and that in itself, where they have to actively go out and look for something, that gives them the opportunity to be stimulated without actually having to do anything physical. So we use frisbees here generally to get started. It's kind of one of the props that we have that has both props. So we send our animal away, we ask them to stay back there. He's just hanging out behind the curtain. And Cameron is going to go ahead and place one of these frisbees somewhere, just like that. He's going to ask Harvey to come back out, and then he's going to ask Harvey to find it. So this, again, is a little bit more of a complicated concept for our animals because they have to be more free thinkers. There it is. So this is a really, really wonderful behavior that we're able to train because we are encouraging them to, when we first train it, we show them right next to each other, and of course we reinforce when they find them when they're right next to each other. But as it gets larger and larger, they really have to think and they have to look on their own. And so it's an opportunity for them to participate really well without having to be constantly given information, and they can just kind of work on their own and find things out. And a lot of the animals find it very stimulating because it's really different from a lot of the other stuff that we're training. Now you heard Cameron give that signal, so we use verbal signals, we use visual signals, and physical signals to interact with our sea lions. So Harvey's actively looking at me, and obviously I'm not. And you'll hear Cameron, there it is! Good job, Harvey. Yeah, and you'll hear Cameron using some type of vocabulary. We use the words good boy, good job, keep going. All of that is just verbal encouragement. When an animal is doing something correctly, we just try to kind of encourage them, say you're on the right track, what you're doing is good, keep going, and that allows them the opportunity to know that they still are succeeding and they're not just kind of wandering around aimlessly. Now, Harvey receives different types of reinforcement. Obviously, he's reinforced by, our primary reinforcement was this fish, but he's one of our animals who's been conditioned and does find tactile reinforcing. So you kind of saw Cameron giving him a little bit of a rub, and that was something that he can find reinforcing if he's in the mood, definitely. Where are we going? Right here. All right, perfect. Very nice. So I think we're going to go one more time with this. Here we go. We'll see how he does. And eventually we'll be able to move it to somewhere that he has to look a little bit harder, but he's actively looking. A lot of times, there it is. Now usually they check the place they just found it, right? Because that's a smart thing to do. But he's able to constantly put it in different places and then have the opportunity for him to find it. So it's a really wonderful, like I said, concept for our animals to learn to be able to think on their own. Now we are going to finish up our Inside Look with one of our female sea lions that we have here at Sea Lion and Otter Amphitheater. This is Isla. She's 5 years old. She's going to be working a husbandry behavior. So right now she weighs about 150 pounds. So as you can see, there's a significant size difference between females and males. Generally females weigh about 200, sometimes even 300, 400 pounds less than a male. Now we are working on an ultrasound. So Ariel has our ultrasound machine, that's the binder, and then we have a mock probe that Stephanie is using right there in between. And meanwhile, Art is our control trainer, our primary trainer, who is just kind of keeping her calm and allowing, or asking her to hold still while we introduce those different things to her. So and he kind of mixes it up by asking a few different behaviors. And this is really great. This is what I was talking about before with animal husbandry. It allows the opportunities for animals to participate in their own health care. So that's a huge thing with us. We want them to be active participants, whether it's doing blood draws, doing ultrasounds, body checks. And as you can see, she was like, oh, maybe I didn't like that right there. That's totally fine. And that's why we do this, to give us the opportunity to take small approximations. And as you can see, she's continuing to go back into that. So that's telling us that she's like, it's okay, we can keep going. But as I was mentioning before, their body language. So they use different cues to let us know, maybe I'm not digging this right now, which is totally fine. So we can either ask the question again or we can move on. But she seems to be really comfortable. It's something we've been working for a little while now. All right, that finishes up our inside look. We can give a round of applause to our trainers.